Gray and Mack Breakfast Show
on Swindon's BBC Wiltshire.
Trying to stop raw sewage from seeping into your home, not the best way to spend your bank holiday weekend. If you live at Castle Door in Freshbrook, that might be what you've been doing. Natalie Slater is a spokesperson for Thames Water. Good morning, Natalie.
Good morning.
10 gardens affected, people knee-deep in rancid water, using buckets, desperately trying to stop raw sewage flowing into their houses. 13 hours to get engineers out. This is nowhere near good enough, is it?
Something went wrong here, and for that we apologise. Basically, we're carrying out a thorough investigation to find out how and why this happened.
So you've no idea what went wrong?
We're still investigating the full circumstances as to why we took so long to get there.
People we spoke to said they kept ringing and you kept they felt as if you were fobbing them off.
We're still investigating all the circumstances surrounding this.
I follow you on Twitter. And on the 17th of August, you tweeted and you named a mobile phone company. And then you said, this mobile phone company really does have the worst customer service I've ever experienced. Is Thames Water any better?
Like I say, we do our best to make sure that we respond to people when they have problems.
Are you sorry you sent that tweet about the mobile phone company now?
This is something that happened with Thames Water.
But let's get back to the tweet that you sent about the mobile phone company, about their customer service. Are you sorry you sent it now?
I think we should focus on what happened with this case.
So you're not going to answer that one?
Like I said, I think we should focus on Thames Water here and the customer service that happened. And once again, we do apologise for the delay.
Natalie Slater from Thames Water.
BBC Wiltshire.
The Labour leader Ed Miliband will make his keynote speech at the party's annual conference in Liverpool today. It's a year since he took over following Gordon Brown's resignation. Harriet Harman was the acting leader in between. She joins me from the conference now. Good morning, Harriet.
Good morning.
Who are you sitting next to this year during the keynote speech from the leader?
Well, I'm sure I'll be sitting with my colleagues in the Shadow Cabinet, and we're all very focused on the concerns that people have got.
Well, you had a bad seat last year, didn't you? You were sat right next to Ed's brother David, and when Ed criticised the Iraq war, his brother said to you, you voted for it, why are you clapping? You're going to be careful about what you clap about this year?
Well, I will definitely be supporting Ed Miliband for what he's saying. I think that it's difficult times for people, and he's speaking up for their concerns. And I noticed that actually when it came to voting, people voting in the election in May earlier this year, actually there was a swing towards Labour and away from the Conservatives and away from the Lib Dems. So when it came to actually voting, I think people did, when they came into the ballot box, they did support Labour more than they'd supported us previously, and more than they were supporting the Tories and the Lib Dems.
Well, you were campaigning then. You even came to Swindon in April, but it didn't help. We've still got a Conservative council and we've still got 2 Conservative MPs. Why is that?
Well, we did gain seats in the local elections, and we think we're making progress.
You described Gordon Brown as hopeless. Is Ed Miliband worse because he's not doing very well in the opinion polls?
I didn't. I think that with a really difficult global financial crisis, I think that the work that Gordon Brown did with other leaders around the world to stop the banks falling over, it could have been immeasurably worse. But I think that this government's mistake is to say that we're out of the woods, we're out of the danger zone, and that we're a safe haven, and to think that they can just let things fend for themselves, and to really cut the economy and choke the life out of the economy. And I think that's what's gone wrong. And I never said Gordon Brown was hopeless.
Not at the New Year's Eve party?
No.
OK, the Times reported that you did. Harriet Harman, live from the Labour Party conference. Thanks very much. You're not talking to me on a handheld mobile phone while you're driving, are you?
Oh, no, I've mended my ways. Never again.
All right. Well, you pleaded guilty anyway to driving without due care and attention.
I'm reformed, though. I'm a reformed motoring offender now.
I'm glad to hear it. Harriet Harman, thanks for your time this morning. Amanda Broomhall from Penhill is in the middle of her 6th surrogate pregnancy. She's just had her 13-week scan. Amanda is here with me this morning. Good morning, Amanda.
Morning.
13-week scan. Now, that's the one that's checking for Downs.
That's right.
You've not heard anything? No news, good news?
No news, good news. They would ring me by last Friday if I was a high risk. So I'm a low risk.
If the scan has showed up definite for Downs, what would happen then?
I talked to the parents about it. The ultimate decision would be theirs.
And if their decision was to terminate, you would terminate the pregnancy?
Yes. At this point, I would, yes.
Half of that baby you're carrying is you.
Yeah, it is, yes. At this point, I would, without hesitation, follow through the wishes of the parents.
This is your 6th surrogate pregnancy. Have you ever terminated one?
Yes.
And why was that?
Because the parents changed their mind.
There was no medical problem?
No.
And how were you with that decision?
It was awful, but what could I do? You know, they didn't want the child.
Why do you do this?
Because I can. I think that it's one thing I can do, so I'll do it.
Who chooses the parents?
I offer to help. They don't ask. That's not how it's done. They don't walk up and say, we want you to help us. I offer to help, and I always think that you should get to know somebody before you make that offer, because any relationship between a surrogate parent and the two intended parents should be based on friendship, because 9 months is a really long time to work with someone you don't like.
So you decide whether they're going to be good parents. It's down to you.
Yeah.
No one else.
No, if I don't gel with them or click with them, then I'm not the right person to help them.
Tell me about these people.
Okay.
Where'd they live?
East Anglia.
East Anglia. Professional people?
Both working, yeah. They haven't got high-paid jobs, but they are both in stable, long-term employment, yeah.
Do they own their own home?
Nope.
But they live in council accommodation?
Yep.
And you're cool with a kid being brought up into an environment where, who knows, if one of them lost their job, they might find it a little bit tough for a while? You have to make those, but you have to make those
they're normal
what I'm getting
people.
Is you have to make those moral decisions on their behalf.
And it's a lot for me to make the decision on. But those decisions you've just said could happen to anybody. They could be the richest people in the country, but if they lost all that money, they'd have the same problems as the rest of us do, you know? And I always say just because they live in a council house doesn't mean they're bad people, and all the money in the world won't buy you the skills you need to be a good parent.
Thank you for letting us follow this.
That's all right.
Because I still don't know where I am with it.
Well, the reason I'm letting you follow me is because the parents want a record, and at the end, your researcher has agreed to put it on a CD to give to them, so they've got a record of their child being brought into the world. And that's very special, and you can't put a price on that.
Amanda Broomhall from Penhill, thanks for your time this morning.
The Graham Mack Breakfast Show
On Swindon's BBC Wiltshire.
A hydrogen refuelling station is opening in Swindon today. It's on the Honda site. It's a joint project between Honda, British Oxygen and Forward Swindon. Nick Rolfe is on the innovation team for British Oxygen. Good morning, Nick.
Good morning.
Who's going to be using this filling station?
Well, this filling station here is designed to actually stimulate further development in vehicle manufacture and the use of hydrogen as a clean sort of transport fuel for the UK.
And who's going to use it?
Well, the station itself is going to be used by principally fleet operators. We're trying to sort of mimic what other activities that are going on in other parts of the globe, like in Germany.
How many hydrogen cars are there in Swindon?
There aren't any hydrogen cars in Swindon at present, but what we're targeting here is fleet operators. So it's really in a sort of B2B context this station has to be seen initially. How
many fleet-operated hydrogen cars pass through Swindon every day?
Well, as I'm describing, there aren't many fleet-operated cars in Swindon. Our objective here is sort of...
Is it none?
Benefits. It is none at present.
How many hydrogen-powered vehicles are there in the UK?
In the UK, we haven't got any sort of hydrogen-powered vehicles that are available to the consumer.
Nick Rolfe from British Oxygen, thank you. Oh, one last question. What are going to be the opening hours of this filling station?
Well, the opening hours at the moment are going to be driven by actually demand. So
it's never going to open. A team from Cricklade tried to climb the highest mountains in England, Scotland and Wales. They were doing it in memory of their friend, 26-year-old Wayne Wilson, who died from leukemia in January. The group was led by friend of the show, Damien Davis. Good morning, Damien.
Morning, Graham.
I've heard it didn't go to plan.
Well, we started from the foot of Ben Nevis.
And we spoke to you last week, just before you were off to Scotland to climb Ben Nevis. You were going to do Ben Nevis, Snowdon and Scafell Pike.
That's right.
Yeah.
And we'd taken a crucial wrong turn at a fork in the path, and it wasn't until we got very close to the top that we realised the error of our ways.
You climbed the wrong mountain.
Ben Nevis has a lovely little monument at the top that says, "Welcome to Ben Nevis, this is the highest mountain in the UK."
Yes.
When we got to the top of our one, which was a lot steeper than we'd imagined it to be, we suddenly realised this was not in fact Ben Nevis.
Okay, so you got your 3 peaks challenge. First peak, you've muffed it. What happens now? Do you give up?
No, we thought we'd persevere. We said, right, let's crack on. We'll go and do Scafell Pike and see if we can get that and Snowdon in still within 24 hours.
Yeah.
And we made our way down to the Lake District. We got there 2 hours after our initial planned start time.
Not bad, though.
No, not bad. But then I slipped and twisted my ankle. So
Don't mean to laugh, Damien, I'm sorry.
No, it was quite painful at the time.
I bet it was, yeah.
I had to make an emotional decision there and then to turn back because I didn't want to hinder the team.
Right, okay. Very
chances of
noble,
still
like
doing
that bloke with Scott. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. But then 2 of the other lads made it back shortly after me, also with injuries.
So how many did that leave to climb Scafell Pike?
2.
2, okay.
The youngest 2, Mike Murray,
yes,
who had done it before with Kevin and myself in training,
yes,
and Carl, as you know, Wayne's brother.
Yes.
So waiting back at the minibus is myself, Kev and James from the climbing team, Carl's mum and dad,
right,
and Kevin the driver.
Yeah.
And we thought, right, at the pace they were going, they've got to be back by 10 p.m, just as darkness was falling.
And you've still got Snowdon to climb, yeah?
Yeah, but by midnight there was no sign of them and we were quite worried, so we rang Mountain Rescue. They did a full risk assessment and they advised that the guys would probably have gone to ground. They'd had no distress signals sent, and because obviously we had all the right survival kit, they'd made the risk assessment that the guys would be fine. So in the morning, me and Carl's dad, Den, we basically climbed Scafell Pike at first light, 4:30 in the morning.
Now, you would have been quite worried at this stage for them.
We were extremely worried.
Yeah. So this would have been, all the laughing has stopped now, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Now serious.
So Carl's dad and myself climbed Scafell Pike first thing in the morning at first light. We went right to the top and bottom, no sign of them. We rang emergency services again, and sure enough, they reported themselves missing at a pub in a remote village the other side of the Lake District.
Well, how did they get there?
They'd gone up the mountain, obviously darkness had fallen, they'd seen where some lights were, assumed it was where we were, and by the time they got back down the bottom, they realised they were the other side of the mountain. It took us an hour and a half to drive round the Lake District to go and pick them up.
Okay, so the 3 Peaks Challenge, you've blown it with Ben Nevis, you've climbed the wrong mountain.
Yeah.
Your team has made Scafell Pike, 2 of them.
Yeah.
Well, that's a success.
Yeah.
It's a drama, but a success. Okay, what about Snowdon?
Well, we were already 6 hours behind the total finish time by the time we left the Lake District. So we abandoned the mission and went back to our auction and raffle.
In Cricklade?
Yeah, in Cricklade. And we told our story to the amusement of all the locals. But we raised nearly £10,000.
You raised nearly 10,000, and everyone who sponsored you is still going to pay up, are they?
Well, we had a couple of people who jokingly said they wanted a refund, or at least a third of it. But I think most people have stood by their original pledge.
Yeah, and that's great. And that's all for leukemia research.
All for leukemia research, yeah.
So, what do you think Wayne would have thought of it all?
I think he would be beside himself, rolling around laughing.
He wouldn't have wanted a better reason. He wouldn't have wanted you to do it. He would have wanted all this kind of stuff. He would have wanted a story. You're going to get more publicity now because of this than if you'd actually done it properly.
Everyone loves a failure.
Yeah, this is going to be a bigger deal. You may even make more money because of this than if you'd done it properly.
We may well do.
All right. Hey, well, thanks for letting us follow your program.
Thank you to you and all your colleagues at BBC.
We've just
us all the way through this.
We've just been enjoying the story, David. Now, have you got any more challenges, or is this it now?
Well, we've got some more up our sleeve, although I think a few people would like to see us actually do the 3 Peaks before they sponsor us on anything.
Please, David, for me, don't do the 3 Peaks. It's not to be.
All right, Graham, for you, we'll do something different.
Pick something easier. Pick three, I don't know, foothills in Wiltshire or something.
We did say the next 3 we'd attempt would be Common Hill, Blunsdon Hill, and Blooming Hill.
Damien Davis from Team Wayne, thanks. Great to catch up with you again, mate. And well done raising all that money. 890 houses could be built next to Coat Water. Plans were lodged with the council on Christmas Eve. A 21-day consultation to the revised plans opened yesterday. The council will decide in the next few months. Joining me now is Councillor Peter Greenhalgh from Swindon Borough Council. Good morning, Councillor.
Good morning, Graham.
Are you in favour of the current development plans?
I think it's the best proposal that's been received so far, and I would point out that this isn't next to Coat Water, it's next to the hospital.
Is it within a kilometre of Coat Water?
It is between Coat Water and the hospital, yes, but it is closer to the hospital than it is to Coat Water.
In August 2009, when the original proposal was dismissed on appeal by the Secretary of State, you said, "This decision is great news. We were determined to fight this proposal as hard as we could, and I'm very pleased that the Minister has agreed with our position." You also said that it would be disastrous for Coat.
Yeah.
Do you still think that?
I think that the planning submission that I was referring to would have been disastrous for Coat. This development, however, is adjacent to the hospital, not to Coat Water.
So you can understand how people thought you were against any development on that piece of land, and now they're a bit confused.
I can understand that the way the media is reporting this is confusing.
Well, we're only reporting what you're saying. I mean, that's what you said. Since you made those comments, which to some people sounded like you were opposed to a housing development near Coat Water, the new homes bonus schemes have been announced by the government. Swindon Borough Council will get thousands of pounds every year for the next 6 years for every new home built. Has that had any influence on this?
None whatsoever.
52,000 people signed a petition to protect a kilometre of countryside around Coat Water. What have you got to say to those 52,000 people?
I think it's excellent that people take an interest in their local area, and I would fully support anyone who wishes to challenge any application that is submitted.
Do you think that the current proposal should go through?
I think the current proposal is the best proposal that has been submitted for the area around the hospital site, and it's up to the planning committee to determine whether or not this application should succeed.
So you think 890 homes should be built next to Coat Water?
That isn't what I said, Graham.
What are you saying? Get off the fence, Councillor. What are you saying? Is it good or bad?
I'm not sitting on the fence. I think this is the best proposal that has been submitted for this area.
OK, thank you very much for talking to me this morning.
Thank you.
Councillor Peter Greenhalgh, who's always interesting to talk to. David Cameron was pledging to sort out the dispute over whether prisoners should be given the vote after MPs came out firmly against the idea. Chris Bath is from Swindon and is the Director of Projects at Unlock, the National Association of Reformed Offenders. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning.
Why should prisoners get the vote?
Well, there's a few different areas. One is the legal one, where the UK is currently breaking the law under the European Court of Human Rights.
All of the prisoners broke the law.
That's correct, and we don't like them breaking the law, which is why we sent them to prison, and that's why breaking the law is a bad thing, and that's why the fact that we're breaking the law now is an argument against what we're doing currently. Secondly is the moral side of it is, yes, as the local MP says, you go to prison, you lose your liberty, but you don't actually lose your citizenship, and there's a whole range of other rights that you also don't lose, and if we were ever in a situation where prisoners lost all their rights, we'd have a very, very dangerous circumstance indeed.
The prisoners' victims lost plenty of rights, some of them even lost their lives.
Well, of course, they didn't lose their rights, they were offended against.
The ones who died did, the ones that were murdered did.
Well,
they lost everything.
Which is why we send people to prison. Yes, that's correct. That's why we send people to prison.
I'm just confused. You think that it's important to protect the rights of the prisoners. What about the rights of the victims and their families? Are they not as important as the rights of the prisoners? And why is the right to vote such a big deal?
Victims' rights are absolutely crucially important, and what we want to do is see fewer victims. In fact, what we want to see is no more victims.
And how will giving the prisoners the vote do that?
Because if you spend time in prisons, if you talk to people in prison, you start to realise that actually, in the most part, these are people at the very margins of society who aren't integrated, who aren't part of our society, and the things we want them to do, like get a job, get a house, have a stable relationship, etc., that's all about being included in society. And the vote is absolutely an indication of here's your place in society.
So if you give the prisoners the vote, you'll reduce the chance of them reoffending?
It's one element in a very broad set of issues.
Have you got any evidence to back that up?
My evidence is talking to people in prison about their lives, their experiences, and how important it is to them.
In other countries in Europe where the prisoners get the vote, has it reduced reoffending?
That's an excellent question. I would be making it up if I gave you an answer to that, because I haven't looked at that.
Well, maybe you should have a look at that and give me a call back. Thanks for that. That's Chris Bath. He's from Unlock, the National Association of Reformed Offenders. Simon Hughes is the Deputy Leader of the Liberal Democrats. Good morning, Simon.
Good morning, Graham.
The Lib Dems poll ratings hitting the lowest for 14 years. Why are you so unpopular?
Well, the reason it's been difficult is because, firstly, we took a controversial decision that we had to have a new regime for university tuition fees. We weren't a majority government, so we couldn't implement our own policy. We had to negotiate one, and we didn't get the one we wanted. That gave us grief. And then we've had to implement a significant reduction in public expenditure to deal with the deficit, which means we're paying 120 million quid every day just in paying the interest on our debts. And that's not easy to deliver. But I think people are now realising that we are determined to have a fairer Britain. We are determined to go on taking the burden from the people at the bottom end, not just in Wiltshire but everywhere else. That's why we've taken nearly 1 million people out of tax already. That's why we have restored pensions to earnings, a link broken by Mrs Thatcher, never restored by Labour. And that's why we are expecting people who are better off to pay more. We want to keep the 50p tax rate for the few people who are very well off.
But 20 high-profile economists have urged the government to drop the 50p tax rate. They say it's doing lasting damage to the UK economy. Why do you want to keep it?
Well, I don't accept that, and we don't accept that.
Well, the Institute for Fiscal Studies says the 50% tax rate is costing the Treasury up to £500 million a year because high earners are sheltering their money abroad.
Well, there's a review going on at the moment, commissioned by the Chancellor of the Exchequer, into the effect of the 50p tax rate. We await the outcome of that review. If it shows that it's an inefficient economic mechanism, then we will look at other things. Vince Cable has talked about, and I support the idea that both for those who are non-domiciled in the UK, there ought to be a mansion tax. They have houses here, they pay nothing on them above anybody else from a normal family home, and we may need to look at alternative ways, so we tax the wealth that is static and visible rather than taxing income. But we do need to make sure we have a fair tax system. We do need to make sure the people at the bottom end pay less, and the concentration of the government at the moment is to help pull us out of the difficult recession, not of this government's making, by putting more into the pockets of people with lower incomes, making sure they have more of their money to spend, making sure their lives aren't as difficult, to help them meet the demands of energy prices and the rest, and we're determined to go on doing that.
These sound like socialist policies.
It's a fairer Britain, which is...
It's certainly a lot further to the left than the Tories who you got in bed with.
Yeah, well, look, we got into bed with the Tories because no party got a majority. The country was in dire economic straits. We, in the national interest, took a decision to work with the party which got the largest number of seats and votes, and we did a deal for 5 years, and I'm sure that was the right thing to do.
You compromised your principles in return for power.
No, it's... if you're in power on your own, you can do what you want to do on your own. But if you have to enter into a coalition, you can't get your own way. Two people in a marriage, don't each of them get their own way all the time. You have to understand that there is a benefit in working together. Well, that's what we decided in the public interest. And
Simon Hughes, we're running out of time, but I quickly want to get on to one last thing that you're going to discuss today, which is the phone hacking. Are you still going to sue Rupert Murdoch's News International over the phone hacking?
Yeah, I have, like other people who were the victims, launched proceedings. The issue now is to make sure that, given there's a huge public consensus that we need to try to sort this out for once and for all, that we don't just concentrate on Murdoch and the Murdoch empire, that we deal with the other people whose organisations, the other media companies whose organisations regularly had people committing offences, that they get caught and dealt with, and then that we get a proper independent regulatory authority for the press that makes sure that this sort of looking after yourself and not worrying about the rules culture is ended forever, and we're determined to change that.
Simon Hughes, we're out of time, Deputy Leader of the Liberal Democrats. Thanks for your time this morning. And now a story of what can be done when you're truly inspired. This time last year, Wayne Wilson from Cricklade had just married his fiancée, Sammy Cole. But Wayne knew that he was dying of leukemia. Wayne lost his battle on the 3rd of January. He was 26. Well, since then, thousands of pounds have been raised for charity in his name. Wayne's friends and family set up a charity called Team Wayne. Our reporter, Ashley Heath, is in Cricklade this morning with some of the team. Good morning, Ashley.
Good morning, Graham. Yes, I do have Damien Davis, Kay Wright, who's Wayne's mum, and Ali Clark, who is Damien's mum. Damien, let's go back to basics. Just sum up this year. It's been a heck of a year, hasn't it?
It certainly has. Wayne sadly lost his life in January, and his brother Carl, myself, and some other friends, we set up Team Wayne, and we initially had aspirations to climb Kilimanjaro. Now, with what subsequently happened, perhaps it's a good idea that we didn't set our ambitions that high.
But nevertheless, that kind of experience really heightened the national profile.
Yes, what they haven't heard, though, is, I mean, obviously it was widely reported about us climbing the wrong hill. We mistook Stod Ban for Ben Nevis. And what was sort of put under the radar a bit was the fact that, you know, Kay's son Carl, who was part of the team, and Mike, two of the members actually went missing for 14 hours on Scafell Pike, while Kay and then, you know, Carl's parents were at the bottom, absolutely worried sick. They'd already lost Wayne to leukemia, were worried they'd lost Carl to another mishap, and, you know, that was quite traumatic at the time. As you know, it turned out quite funny.
Because they were found
in a pub, the other side of the Lake District. But at the time, it was really quite worrying for Kay.
Well, Kay, let's bring you in now. Wayne's mum. Obviously, it's been a difficult year for you. You've been showing your mix of emotions as you've been listening to Damien there, because of watching you. You're getting a bit teary, but you were smiling at the same time. How do you sum up this year?
I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy, to be perfectly honest.
What is it like for you to know that Wayne was so loved that everybody pulled together in the way they have and are still doing that because money is still being raised?
Well, what helps me is when people say Team Wayne, they remember about Wayne.
So sorry, I think we just heard the door knock there. Do you want to put your headphones on?
Someone better answer the door.
We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Kay, can you still hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
What we've got there is the choir from the local church, St Sampson's. And one of them should have a card for you.
I've got one in my hand.
A red card with your name on it.
Yeah.
Can you open it up for me, please? What does it say inside the card?
You've been granted a Christmas wish by BBC Wiltshire.
Well, we do this thing called Christmas Wish. Damien has said it would be nice because you've worked so hard with Team Wayne after the year you've had. Damien just says you've been the best, and he just asked me, this is his Christmas wish, he asked me what we could do to do something nice for you. So what's going to happen today is you are going to have the best day, Kay. We have set up for you at 10 o'clock to be driven to the Four Pillars Hotel in the Mayor of Swindon's car, the mayoral limousine. You've got use of the spa facilities, which includes the hydrotherapy pool, the sauna, the steam room, the experience showers. You'll have access to the exclusive members lounge throughout the day, free tea and coffee as much as you can drink. We're sorting you out with the bathrobe, the slippers, the towels for the day. At lunchtime you're having their special spa lunch, which is open sandwiches, a Caesar salad, soup of the day, the cheese platter, the fruit platter, the dessert of the day. That's to get you all set up for the Rasul ritual treatment, and this ancient Arabic treatment has been used for centuries to purify and soften the skin. It's a deep cleansing mud that will go into your skin. You'll relax while all your worries waft away and steam allows the minerals to be absorbed. Then you'll have a refreshing tropical rain shower. That'll complete the treatment. leave your whole body glowing with health, and at the end of the day, Kay, you're going to feel like the bee's knees.
Oh, thank you very much.
No
I
worries.
I wish I'd known this. My husband's just gone shopping.
Well, give him a call and tell him you need a new cosy. All right, is Ali there as well still? Ali's your friend and Damien's mum. Ali, you've been an accomplice on this. How hard has it been keeping this a secret?
Pretty hard.
Well, we've been keeping a secret as well. You're going as well. You're having the day as well as Kay, because we can't send Kay on her own. She's got, for something like this, she's got to have something special with a friend.
Oh, wow.
So this Christmas wish, it's a big thank you from Damien and everyone involved in Team Wayne, and of course Swindon's BBC Wiltshire. Ashley, what's it like there now?
Oh, I tell you, Graham, the emotion is really highly charged. The choir of St Sampson's Church help us wish Kay, Ali, Damien and all the BBC Wiltshire listeners a very happy Christmas.
Ding dong merrily on high, in the